One mini world, one creation dream.
Have our first elimination rule. All the other games are going to follow the same rule. First, we are going to create the minigame on the trigger, and then we are going to learn the minigame loop. So we are going to start with one of the easiest one to make, and is the Meteor Room, okay? So what you have to do, once more, you have to create a room. If this is going to be the Meteor Room, guys, and very important, we are going to switch that. We are going to learn Meteor Rush. If you are going to do the Meteor Rush, what you have to do is to create a room. It doesn't matter the design. The only thing that is important is don't put too much obstacles around the map. Be sure that the playable area is completely free, so the players will be able to move freely. The only obstacles that I place is like the altitude, so players can be stuck here for a second. Of course, once more, it doesn't matter if you put more blocks in the walls. Well, so you can have like 1 or 3 or like different altitudes in your decoration. The important thing for this minimap is that everything inside the playable area, the 24 by 24, it's completely playable, okay? Now, what you are going to do? Well, as always, you are going to seek for the center of your map. You are going to take note of the coordinates. And once more, this is going to be our first game. Okay. Once more, we got X, we got Y, and we got Z, guys, okay? So, on here, let me put right here. On this side, you have the coordinates for your game, for your first minigame. -25 is going to be the first one. 16, it's going to be the altitude, it's going to be the second parameter here. That is going to be Y. Remember, this is for all the maps in MiniWorld. And the last one, that is going to be the C value, is going to be 16. Remember, if you have a negative number right here, like I have, you have to put it, okay? So minus needs to be minutes here. Once you have that information, what you need to do is just go right here. Remember, the process is going to be always the same. So what you always need to do is just move to the main system folder. And in the main system folder, you are going to move to register, okay? In register, you are going to open this one that says map script, right? Map register. And we are going to just copy and paste this, okay? All right, so now we are going to change the information. Remember, the ID that is going to feed the first data, it's going to always have an extra number. Okay, so the elimination room is the room number 0. The map that we are going to create is the first minigame, so just put the name and the number, okay? The name of the map is going to be Meteor Rush. Okay, the coordinates here, that is X, Y, Z. Remember that this one is the same that we got here. So the coordinates are going to be the next value. Remember the numbers that we just take? We are going to put it on here. So the first one is -25. The second one is going to be 1. And the third one is going to be 16. Something that I always do, guys, is very important. I always give the number on here +1. It's like just adding to the altitude one number, but it's not necessary. It's just to create a cool effect, but you don't need that. You can also use 1 on here if you want it. If you see that the player spawns like literally in the ground, just put a number extra on there, okay? And the spawn method, okay? So very important, guys. And for this, let me open once more the presentation about Spanish. I think it was, yeah. That has the chart. Just a second. Okay, it's not loading. Oh yeah, it's loading right now. Okay, so this is how the spawn methods works, okay? So guys, remember this. And let me show you how you can read this. On here, that is going to be the number. Remember, this is going to be this. It's telling us that what will be the spawn method. So I put it an example here. The green areas is where the players are going to be teleported. Okay, so let me show you with a quick shape here. Imagine that this is going to be a player. Okay. With the method number 1, the player, or in all the examples, the player can spawn in the green area. So that means if you put a number 1, the players can spawn in any area around all the map except the walls, okay? So as an example, the first player can be teleported here, the second can be teleported here, the third one can be teleported here. It doesn't matter, okay? If you put in spawn method, once more, right here, if you put the number 2, what it's going to happen is that the player can spawn in the borders of your room. You have to keep 3 blocks, but it's going to spawn in any border of the map, okay? So that means first player is going to be teleported here, second is going to be probably teleported here, and third one is going to be teleported here, okay? That's going to be for the second. And if you put the number 3, that means that the player, it's going to be teleported around the center, only around the center. So the first one could be here, the second could be here, and the third one could be right here, okay? So that's how it works for the spawn methods. So just put the number that you wanted. In our case, as this is Meteor Room, the best thing will be to spawn the players around the borders. So if you spawn the players around the borders, we are going to choose the number 2 here, okay? So that means that for our game, the players are going to spawn around the borders while the game starts. Probably you didn't notice that, but it's a way to spread the players around. Now, coin method, that is the last number after the comma. It's going to be almost the same, but it's going to be for the coins. So, once more in the example, imagine that, okay, for the coins, no, sorry, for the stars. Sometimes I forgot that. What happened is that previously, when I started designing this map, at the beginning, the stars were like coins, but I realized that the stars are going to be easier for the players to understand. So, once more, if you put on here a number 1, okay, a number 0, it means that no stars at all are going to be spawned. That means no stars, okay? If you put the number 0. But if you put the number 1 here, it means exactly the same that I got right here. So number 1 means that the stars can be in any part of the map. Number 2 means that the star, it's going to appear around the corners. And number 3, it means that it's only going to appear around the center. So in this specific game, we want the star to spawn in any part of the map, because we want the players to walk around all the map. And for doing this, the only thing that you need to do once more is to change the numbers here. So, as we want everything to spawn around any part, just put a number 1. And on here you can put, of course, the name of your map. In my case, I just put 2 lines. Remember, in triggers and scripts, guys, 2 dashes means there is a comment. It's not going to execute that code. It's just for you to put comments. This is going to be Meteor. Okay. And that's it. We already got the map registration for your game. Now we need to move here and we need to create the different folders. Okay. So bye, Kenzie. Have a good day. First, we are going to add code just to minigame. We are going to add a new trigger, sorry, not a trigger set, just a normal trigger. And we are going to have this, rename it as Meteor number 1. Guys, that is going to be on here, the number 1, and Meteor Room, okay? And Meteor Room, it's going to be just a normal name for your map, okay? Now, guys, we can do that if you want to do it manually, or what you can do is just to copy and paste and rename it, okay? With that, you are going to have the most of the conditions already on the game, okay? So if you do the copy and paste of the condition, the action is going to be the same. The condition is going to be the same except by this part, okay? On this part, you have a 0 here. You need to change it to the number 1, okay? Because this, once more, needs to match with the number that you put in the map register right here. So if we put a number 1 on here, on there, you also need a number 1, okay? Now, for the, as you see, you are going to delete almost everything else. Just take all of these things and delete it. You are just going to keep this part, okay? The first that are going to be the permissions and the text, okay? So once you delete everything else, what you are going to do is just to go here to the conditions once more. This is going to be the permissions. And once more, you are going to set up the permissions. On here, put how much jump the players are going to have. Once more, 50 is the normal value. Right here, put the number of speed. In my case, I put it 8. It's a little bit less than the most speed that you have in most of the times on MiniWorld. Player can move, it's true. On here, put everything on false, but can use items is going to be true. And let me explain why. Because in my game, as you can get some items in the stores, you can use it during the game. So I always put can use items as true, except a minigame where, as an example, you cannot use other objects. Can attack false, we don't want the players to kill each other. Can be attacked, needs to be true, so the player can receive damage. Can be kills also needs to be true. In all the games, most of the games, you are going to be put can be killed as true, okay? The other things, just put it in false. As you see, to set up the rules is going to be very easy here. You don't have to do a lot of things, just change the letters. And here, once more, just edit and put the conditions or the rules for your minigame, okay? And you're going to keep it like this. So right now you are going to have something like this, just 3 or 2 different scripts, triggers. What we are going to do is just to move to our game start loop, and we are going to create a new trigger, okay? So just go here and create a new trigger. When you create a trigger, you are going to put the same name of the other, but at the end, after one Meteor Room, you are going to put loop on it, okay? Why loop? Because remember that the loop is going to be different. Once more, moving back to the presentation, to this presentation, we got 2 different triggers. The triggers that this is the startup, that is the one that we made for elimination room, and the last one, and the loop that is the one that we are going to do, which actually is a real game. Okay, so once you got it, you are going to put the next conditions. First one, once more, you are going to add this, that is going to be to check the timer, but this is very important, we are going to check a different timer. So, for this, just select Add Game Logic, Designated Time Changers or Timer. On here, we are going to select Minigame, okay? Very important, on this one, it's Minigame, the one that is going to change, okay? On here, now we are going to add some conditions. The first one is that the minigames needs to be equals to 2. To 1, okay? For this, you can just go ahead to the previous and you just can copy and paste it right here, okay? Just copy and paste it. For the second condition is just going to be the same. So what you can do is just go ahead once more to the previous map that the trigger that we create. Just copy the first condition, just hit on copy and paste it on this specific minigame room, okay? But you will have to edit it. On here you are going to have different information, be sure to access and you select minigame on here. And very important, on the center you need to choose the options to be greater than, okay? And the number 1, okay? That means that this is going to be executed just before the game ends. No, don't put a 0 here because it's not going to work. Okay, otherwise you can use the method that it's saying just teach me, that is just go in here, select designated time, and select the time that left, okay? Once more, it's optional for you, but you can do it in the both ways, okay? And very important, guys, here is a condition that is going to be very important, and is that this is not going to start spawning immediately, because if you put immediately, probably the players are going to be completely freezed because the game has just changed it, and before we count 1, 2, 3, the Meteor is going to crush the players and is going to drop the players out. For avoid this, we are going to add a new condition. So just copy and paste the second condition, and very important, with timer time minigame, on here we are going to add the option less than, and on here we are going to select a variable that we already created. Remember, we got like 2 different variables, time per minigame and timer minigame start. Okay, sorry, yeah. Okay, timer minigame start is going to count the real time when the game already counts 1, 2, 3, go. So we are going to use that one, okay? So with this, we got like the 3 conditions. First, that is going to just work just before the minigame change. After the minigame change, there is going to stop completely. And the second one that is going to start after the count for be ready is completely done. And that's how most of the minigames are going to have the conditions. Now, for creating the meteors, we are going to add just a new area, okay? Remember, with this tool, actually, remember in here you have the tool mode, you are going to just hit it on there, and you have this square, you are going to create an area, okay? For creating the area, just select the first point, and then you are going to move everything to the last point, okay? Be sure that your area is over the map, where the players cannot reach it, and it covers all the area of your map, like some blocks up, okay? Here is where the meteors are going to be created, okay? All right, so when you have this area, you are going to rename it. To rename it, just click on here, and you are going to rename it as Meteor, okay? Very important, always rename your areas. And once you have that, the only thing that we need to do is just to add here a new trigger. It's going to be on here, items. It's going to be created projectile, okay? And just let me be sure. Yes, it's going to be create projectile, okay? And when you create a projectile, you need to select which projectile you are going to have. In my case, the projectile is just a normal projectile that explodes in the floor. I'm going to teach you how to do that, okay? Very quickly. So you go here, you are going to go to props, you are going to hit add, you are going to add a new one, you are going to select create, okay? Once you create, you are going to have a new interface. So just put the name of the meteor, just select any model that you want. In my case, I select a black ball. It's the one that I used for the dark hole in the previous game. And the setup is going to be projectile attack. It's going to be low. You have to switch to attack type. When you select explosion here, this is not going to be the damage. This is going to be the radius of the explosion. Gravity, I give some gravity, so the meteor is not going to fall like directly, like a line. It's going to do like a curve on it. The initial speed is 90, so the players are going to be able to see it. If you put too much speed on here, they are not going to notice what is working. The hit target is going to be creatures and block, and everything else is completely off, okay? Skills is also off. Oh, something that I add is just an effect. To add an effect, when you add and save the projectile that you just created here, just move to partial trigger, add a new trigger that's going to be inside the mode once more, and you are going to add a new one. The action is when the projectile is created, and what we are going to do is just go here, create a special effect, create a special effect in projectile, or play a special effect in projectile, and the one I use is smoke 17. So that's going to give like the trail for the smoke, and the size is 15 and for the projectile in the event, okay? Once you have created that, just restart your map. That is very important, otherwise you won't be able to see the projectile in your game. And once you do that, just move back to the trigger and we are going to hit the action that we just created. You are going to select your meteor right here. It's the one that we just created. And very important, here is the trick. What we are going to do is to just create the meteor in any area, at any point in this area, and we are going to shoot it to the same area, but in any other point around the area. So it's going to look like the meteor is having a direction, but we are just using an area to give that, okay? How do you do that? Once more, just go to the first block where it's going to tell you where the projectile is going to be created. On there, you are going to select on here, function library, okay? Random point in area, that means that is going to do all the work for you, and just select the area that you want to do. And for the towards, or where it's going to point the projectile, it's going to be plugin library. You are going to select location offset, original location change, and that will allow us to change the location. So as an example, we select X point and we can move the area. We can tell them to move 2 to the right, 2 blocks to the right, 1 up, and 2 to the front, or whatever direction you want to give it, okay? That's how it works. So what you are going to select in the first block is just the same we select here. So just go here, function, and a random location in area, okay? On here, you are going to choose once more Meteor, and on here, we are going to choose the move it directions, okay? So we already got any point in this area, any point on here. So as an example, the meteor is going to spawn here, and the point in direction is going to be here, the random point in the area. But with the trigger that I showed you, we are going to decide to point 20 blocks below that. So that means that the meteor is going to point to the ground, okay? And how did you do that, Jill? Remember I told you just 20 points before or below? Well, if you see, we choose the number. Once more, these are coordinates. This is the X, this is the C, and this is the altitude. If you put minus, it's going to be downwards. If you put a positive number, it's going to be upwards. So on here, I just choose minus 21, minus 20, and that's it. If you want the game to just shoot more than one projectile, just copy and paste in the same screen as much projectiles you wanted. The last step is that you are going to have this like this. What you are going to do is just to click on here to completely turn it off. Remember, our system is going to activate this. And we almost finished our first game, okay? What you have to do next is just go here to the script that we just created before, that is the Meteor Room. And remember, we only have like the permissions and the text that we are going to send to the players. Well, we are going to just add a new one. We are going to go to triggers, and we are going to change the trigger set status. Sorry, the trigger status, okay? Once you select the trigger status, we are going to select on here the trigger that we just created. Remember, the loop. Okay, so on the loop, we are going to select once more in the folder loops. We are going to select the loop of our game, okay, that is going to be Meteor, and we are going to change the status on. So if everything works fine, guys, your meteor is going to be shooted. That means that you are going to be teleported. You are not going to get any error as you would previously send it. Instead of that, the player is going to be teleported to the room that you choose, and on there the projectiles are going to start shooting after some seconds. As you see, adding the minigames is going to be very easy. And once more, if you got everything right after the moment, after 5 rounds, after playing 5 rounds the same Meteor game, you will be teleported right here, okay? And it's going to tell the game that which is the player with less score, but don't worry, if you are in one player, it's not going to kill you. It's going to allow you to keep for the next minigame, okay? Now, very important, guys, we left something, and is that our system left another thing. Right now, your players are not going to die if they get out of the arena, okay? So how we can choose to make that? that will be the next step, guys, okay? And this is going to work for all the triggers. All right, so we are going to go to the usually script sites. Let me put once more the site in the description and the chat. Also, you can find that. And what you have to go is to go to MiniGames, and you are going to select this script. That script name is out of the game, okay? You don't have to do any setup on this. Or, well, of course, if you want to change the text, just change the text part. Copy it. You know already how to copy some scripts. You go to here, to your script, and you are going to import this one too, okay? So remember, just delete it, confirm, and save it. If you have everything right copied, it's going to allow you to do it. If you get any error, you have to delete it and try to copy it again, and check if the language is the original one. On here, just put the name out of